The Empire of Izar had conquered many worlds. Their fleet, made up of hundreds of huge starships, was feared across the galaxy. They were known for their strength, their advanced technology, and their ruthless methods. Every planet that stood in their way had fallen, and they had never been stopped. Now, Earth was next. Captain Jun-Hook stood on the bridge of the flagship, a massive ship called Vengeance. The ship's engines glowed with power as it cut through the void of space. He was a proud warrior of the Izar Empire, known for his ability to lead with strength and discipline. He had been given the task of leading the invasion of Earth. The mission was simple: destroy their defenses, take their cities, and claim their world. The humans on Earth were nothing compared to the mighty Izar. Their technology was primitive, their military weak. It would be an easy victory. From his high command seat, Captain Jun-Hook watched as his fleet entered the solar system. Earth's blue and green globe spun slowly below them, its cities glowing faintly in the darkness of space. The Earthlings had no idea what was coming. They had no defense against the mighty fleet of Izar. Prepare the fleet for invasion, Captain Jun-Hook ordered in a calm, confident voice. His soldiers, all of them towering and strong, moved quickly to their stations. The time had come. They would show Earth what true power was. Far below, on Earth's surface, the people lived their daily lives, unaware of the giant fleet approaching. In Seoul, South Korea, Ha-kyung was waking up to a bright new day. She stretched in bed, enjoying the peaceful start to her morning. Little did she know, the world was about to change forever. Across the globe, people went to work, kids went to school, and life continued as normal. Up in space, Captain Jun-Hook's fleet began to move into position. The ships were enormous, some the size of small moons. Their weapons, which could destroy entire cities with a single blast, were powered up and ready. The fleet was organized, efficient, and deadly. The first wave of ships moved into Earth's orbit. They were silent at first, almost like shadows in the sky. Then they sent out a message to Earth. It was a warning, a demand for Earth's immediate surrender. "We are the Izar Empire." The message began, booming over every communication network on Earth. "Your world is now under our control. Surrender or face destruction. You have no choice." The message repeated over and over, sending shockwaves across the planet. People stared up at the sky, trying to understand what was happening. The Izar fleet was huge, unlike anything the world had ever seen. Across the world, governments quickly began to respond. Military leaders scrambled to make plans, but they knew it was too late. They had no weapons that could stand against the Izar. They had never faced anything like this before. The Izar fleet was far too powerful, their technology far beyond anything humanity had. Captain Jun-Hook smiled as he watched the chaos unfold on Earth. It was going exactly as he had planned. The humans were scared, confused, and helpless. They would not be able to stop the Izar Empire. For now, the humans would tremble in fear, unaware that the real battle was only just beginning. The Izar fleet hung above Earth like a dark storm cloud. Their ships were enormous and filled with powerful weapons that could wipe out entire cities in seconds. The people of Earth had never seen anything like it. They watched in fear as the fleet entered their sky, blocking out the sun. On Earth, the government leaders were in a state of panic. Military commanders and scientists gathered quickly to discuss how to defend their planet. In South Korea, General Ji-hoon, the head of Earth's defense forces, stared at the large map on his screen, showing the positions of the Izar ships. He could feel the pressure of the moment, the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Earth was under attack, and he had no idea how to stop it. "We need to act fast," General Ji-hoon said, his voice tense. "We have no idea what those ships can do, but they are not here for peace." In every country, the situation was the same. The world leaders were trying to make quick decisions, but the Izar had already taken control of space. Earth's military was scattered, each country with different weapons and systems that did not work together. The Vizar fleet, however, moved as one, with perfect unity. Earth's forces were no match for them. The Vizar did not waste any time. Captain Junhuk, still on the bridge of Vengeance ordered the next phase of their plan. Send out the ground forces. It is time to show them their weakness. The first wave of Vizar soldiers descended onto Earth in massive armored ships. They landed in key cities, including Seoul, Paris, New York, and Beijing. Their mission was simple: disable Earth's space stations, communication systems, and satellites. These would be the first targets, as they were the most important to the Earth's defense. In Seoul, Hakyung, a young soldier, watched from a military base as the sky grew darker with the shadow of the invading ships. She could feel her heart racing in her chest. She had trained for years, but nothing had prepared her for this. She was part of a special unit formed to protect the city, but she knew they were outnumbered. "We can't let them take control," she whispered to herself. As the Vizar ships fired their weapons at Earth's satellites, explosions lit up the sky. One by one, the satellites and space stations fell. The humans tried to fight back, launching rockets into space, but their efforts were useless. The Vizar ships were too powerful. They shot down the rockets before they could get close. The humans' fear grew with each passing minute. All over the world, people could see the destruction happening above them. Cities began to lose power as their communication systems were taken down. Governments no longer had control over their military forces. The Vizar had cut Earth's ability to fight back. Back in the command center of the Vengeance Captain Junhuk watched the chaos unfold with a calm expression. He had expected this. To him, it was a simple task. The humans would resist for a while, but in the end, they would fall. He turned to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Sun Woo, and said, "Prepare for the next phase. We will begin the ground invasion tomorrow. Earth will be ours." Lieutenant Sun Woo nodded, her face showing no emotion. She had seen many invasions, and she knew that this one was no different. The humans were weak, and soon they would bow to the might of the Vizar Empire. But what Captain Junhuk did not know was that despite the fear and confusion on Earth, there was something the humans had that the Vizar did not understand: the will to fight, even when the odds were impossible. And that would be their greatest strength. The Vizar invasion was moving faster than the humans could react. Cities fell silent as the powerful fleet hovered above, their weapons primed and ready. Captain Junhuk watched from his flagship Vengeance confident that victory was just a matter of time. Earth's defenses had already been broken. Their communications were down, and their satellites were destroyed. The way was clear for the ground invasion. But what Junhuk did not expect was the courage and determination of the humans. They were not as weak as they seemed. In Seoul, Hakyung, a young Korean soldier, stood with her unit, staring at the sky where the Vizar ships hovered. She felt a rush of fear in her chest, but she didn't let it show. She had trained for moments like this. She was part of the Special Defense Force, chosen for her quick thinking and bravery. "We can't let them win," she muttered to herself. Haekyung's unit had been assigned to protect the city, but they were vastly outnumbered. The Vizar had landed their forces in the heart of Seoul, and soon the city would be overrun. The invaders were massive, their armored suits towering over the streets. They had energy shields, powerful guns, and advanced technology far beyond anything Earth had. But Hakyung wasn't afraid. She had faith in the people she was fighting with. Her team had already planned a strategy. They would strike fast and hard. It was their only chance. "Move out," Haekyung shouted as she ran towards the enemy. Her soldiers followed, their weapons raised, their eyes filled with determination. The Vizar soldiers, with their glowing red eyes and metallic armor, appeared unstoppable. But as the humans attacked, the invaders were taken by surprise. Instead of panicking or running, the humans fought back with everything they had. Ha Kyung's team moved quickly through the streets, using buildings and alleyways for cover. They knew they couldn't match the Huizar in strength or size, but they had something the invaders didn't: speed and knowledge of the city. Ha Kyung led her team through a series of surprise attacks, throwing off the Huizar soldiers' plans. They managed to destroy a few of the Huizar's communication devices and disable some of their vehicles. It wasn't much, but it was enough to send a message. The humans were not easy prey. As the battle continued, more humans joined the fight. Ordinary people, frightened but determined, picked up whatever they could find: sticks, stones, and old weapons, and began to push back. In the face of a superior force, they did not give up. They fought back with a strength the Huizar could not have imagined. Captain Jun-hook watched the battle unfold from his ship. He could not believe what he was seeing. The humans were organizing themselves in a way that made them more dangerous than he had expected. They were using tactics he had not anticipated. "Send in more forces," Jun-hook ordered. "These humans are more resilient than we thought. Crush them before they can regroup." But the humans were not done. They were far from finished. Even though their weapons were small and their numbers were few, they fought with a fire that no enemy had ever faced before. Ha Kyung, leading her team, struck down Huizar soldiers one by one. With each fallen invader, the humans grew bolder. "Keep pushing forward," Ha Kyung shouted to her team. "We can't let them take our city." The battle in Seoul raged on for hours. Though the Huizar forces were more powerful, they were beginning to feel the pressure. The humans were not the weaklings the invaders had thought they were. They had a strength that came from their unity, their will to protect their homes and families. On the bridge of Vengeance Captain Jun-hook's confidence began to waver. These humans were more than just a nuisance. They were starting to fight back, and it was making the invasion harder than he had expected. For the first time, Jun-hook began to wonder if the Huizar Empire had made a mistake underestimating Earth. The battle in Seoul continued to rage. The Huizar soldiers, though strong and well-trained, were beginning to lose ground. The humans were not giving up. Ha Kyung's team had managed to push the invaders back in several key areas, and word was spreading to other cities. Across Earth, people were beginning to resist, fighting back in ways the Huizar had never imagined. Back on the flagship Vengeance Captain Jun-hook stood with his arms crossed, watching the battle unfold. His face was tense, his mind working furiously. He had expected Earth's defense to crumble easily, but it hadn't. The humans were putting up a much stronger fight than anticipated. The ground forces were struggling to maintain control. "These humans are stubborn," he muttered under his breath. He wasn't used to this kind of resistance. Every planet they had conquered before had fallen quickly, without a fight. But this time, something was different. He turned to Lieutenant Seonwoo, who was standing by his side. "Send in the reinforcements. We cannot let these humans continue to resist. Prepare the heavy artillery." Seonwoo nodded, her face cold and serious. She was as ruthless as her commander, but even she could see that the humans were more resourceful than they had been led to believe. "Understood, Captain," she said, her voice steady. Meanwhile, on Earth, the humans were not only resisting, they were adapting. Earth's military had been caught off guard by the invasion, but now they were starting to fight back with new strategies. Dr. Min Seo, a brilliant scientist and weapons engineer, was working with a team of military researchers to reverse engineer some of the technology they had captured from the fallen Huizar soldiers. Min Seo had always been fascinated by alien technology, and now she had a chance to study it up close. She worked tirelessly in a lab beneath a military base, analyzing the weapons and devices the Huizar used. She was determined to turn the tide of the war. "We can do this," Min Seo said to her team as she examined a piece of Huizar armor. "We may not have their advanced technology, but we can use their weaknesses against them. The humans have always found a way to survive. This time will be no different." With the help of Min Seo's team, the humans began to develop new weapons. They adapted HFY technology to create energy shields and powerful laser guns. The first batch of these new weapons was sent out to military units across the world. In Seoul, Ha-kyung and her team received the new weapons. At first, the HFY soldiers had been nearly unstoppable, but now, the humans had weapons that could match their power. When Ha-kyung fired the new laser gun for the first time, she could feel the difference. The weapon's energy blast shot through the air, hitting its target with perfect precision. "This is it," Ha-kyung said to her team, her voice full of determination. "We're not just fighting to survive anymore. We're fighting to win." The new weapons turned the tide of the battle. As the humans began to fight back with greater force, the HFY soldiers were forced to retreat. The invaders, who had once believed they would crush Earth's resistance, now found themselves on the defensive. For the first time, the humans were not just surviving. They were fighting back with strength and ingenuity. Captain Jun-hook was furious. He had underestimated the humans, and now it was costing him. His ground forces were struggling to keep up with the humans' new weapons and strategies. He realized that the invasion would not be as easy as he had first thought. "We need to stop them now," Jun-hook said, his voice filled with anger. "Bring in everything we have. The humans must be crushed before they can grow stronger." But the humans were no longer afraid. They had tasted victory, and they were ready to fight for their planet with everything they had. The HFY Empire may have been powerful, but Earth had something that the invaders could never understand: the will to protect their home at all costs. The HFY Empire had underestimated the humans of Earth. What they thought would be a quick and easy conquest had turned into a fight for survival. Captain Jun-hook stood on the bridge of Vengeance *, his fists clenched in frustration. The humans were not going to give up. They had proven themselves resilient, resourceful, and stubborn. It was clear now that this battle would not be like any other invasion the HFY had ever fought. "All ships, prepare for full assault," Jun-hook ordered, his voice cold and commanding. "We will crush them once and for all." The HFY fleet moved into position above Earth. Their ships were massive, floating silently in the sky, weapons ready to unleash destruction. With a simple order, they began to fire. Bright beams of energy shot down from the ships, striking the Earth's surface with terrifying force. Entire buildings exploded as the first wave of destruction hit the cities below. The people of Earth could see the skies burning. The invasion was no longer a distant threat. It was happening right in front of them. In every major city, people ran for cover, screaming as the bombs fell and buildings crumbled. The HFY ships unleashed wave after wave of firepower, their weapons cutting through the air with deadly precision. In Seoul, Ha-kyung and her team were already in position, ready to fight. The city was under attack, but they had no choice but to defend it. They had seen the destruction caused by the HFY weapons, and they knew that this would be their most difficult battle yet. "We can't let them take the city," Ha-kyung said, her voice steady despite the fear that gripped her heart. "Hold the line, no matter what." The humans were not ready to give up. Despite the HFY's overwhelming power, they fought back with all their might. The streets of Seoul became a battleground. Humans used every tool they could find: rockets, rifles, and even improvised explosives. They targeted the HFY ships, hoping to break through the enemy's defenses. But the HFY were powerful, and they did not make it easy. As the battle raged on, the HFY ships fired down on Earth's cities with deadly accuracy. The cities of Busan, Daegu, and Incheon were all hit with massive bombardments. Buildings collapsed into rubble, and fires spread across the land. It seemed like nothing could stop the HFY. Yet, despite the overwhelming force of the invaders, humanity refused to back down. General Ji-hoon, leading Earth's remaining military forces, gave his final orders. "We can't let the HFY win. We will not lose this fight. Not while there's a single person left standing." Around the world, resistance groups grew stronger. The people of Earth had come together like never before. The fear and confusion that had once gripped them were replaced by a burning desire to protect their planet. Ordinary citizens, once peaceful and unaware of the power of the stars, were now soldiers. Families, farmers, and teachers fought alongside military personnel, using their knowledge of the land to outsmart the invaders. Meanwhile, Dr. Min Seo and her team were working tirelessly to find a way to turn the tide in favor of the humans. Using the YZAR technology they had captured, they were able to create new powerful weapons, energy shields that could block the invaders' attacks, and laser guns that could destroy the YZAR's armor. These new weapons were deployed to key locations where they began to make a difference. The YZAR's ships were no longer invincible. The humans had found their first victory. A well-aimed shot from one of the new laser guns destroyed a YZAR battleship in the skies above Seoul. But the YZAR were not finished yet. They had sent the humans a clear message. No matter how strong the resistance became, Earth would not be allowed to stand in the way of the Empire's power. Jun-Hyuk's face grew darker as he watched the humans adapt and fight back with increasing strength. His mission was far from complete, and the battle was now more difficult than he had imagined. "This will not be over until we have crushed them completely," Captain Jun-Hyuk said, his eyes burning with determination. "Prepare for the final assault." But even as the YZAR readied their final blow, the humans had already begun to change the course of the war. They had tasted victory, and they would not stop until their planet was free from the invaders. The Battle of Earth was only just beginning. The sky above Earth was dark with the shadows of the YZAR ships. The world seemed to be falling apart as explosions echoed across the cities. The YZAR had unleashed everything they had, but still, the humans refused to give up. They had fought back harder than the invaders ever expected. And now the battle was about to take a new turn. In Seoul, Ha-kyung stood at the front lines, watching as her team took cover behind the rubble of destroyed buildings. The sounds of explosions and gunfire filled the air. The YZAR were relentless, but the humans had learned how to fight back. The new weapons they had developed were starting to make a difference, and they were slowly pushing the invaders back. "We can't let them break through," Ha-kyung shouted to her team, her voice loud above the noise of the battlefield. "Stay focused. Keep them off the ground units." Her team nodded, gripping their weapons tighter. They had no choice but to keep fighting. The city of Seoul was almost in ruins, but the people weren't backing down. They were fighting for their homes, their families, and their future. In the distance, a large YZAR battleship hovered over the city, its guns aimed directly at them. It was ready to fire, and the humans had no way to stop it. But just as it was about to unleash its deadly blast, something unexpected happened. A group of resistance fighters, led by General Ji-hoon, appeared from the shadows. They had managed to infiltrate the YZAR's command center and had gained access to one of the alien ship's weapons systems. General Ji-hoon's voice crackled through the radio. "This is it. We have one shot at this. If we hit their central core, we can take down the entire fleet." Ha-kyung's heart raced as she heard the message. The humans had one chance to strike back, and if they failed, everything would be lost. "Do it," Ha-kyung said, speaking to her team. "We'll cover you." The group of resistance fighters, now armed with the new weapons, began their final push. They fought their way through the YZAR soldiers, dodging blasts and returning fire with precision. Every step was a risk, but they kept moving forward, determined to make this their last stand. The battle intensified as the YZAR retaliated. Their ships rained down fire on the humans below, but the resistance fighters continued to push forward. It was clear that the YZAR had underestimated Earth's will to fight. Meanwhile, aboard the Vengeance Captain Jun-Hyuk watched the battle unfold. He had ordered the final strike on the human resistance, but things were not going according to plan. The humans were not retreating. They were advancing. "What are they doing?" Jun-Hyuk muttered, his eyes narrowing in disbelief. The humans were fighting back with a strategy he had not expected. They had somehow turned the tables. Jun Huk turned to Lieutenant Sunwoo. Order the fleet to regroup. We need to focus on protecting the core. The humans are making a push. As the ISR ships repositioned, the humans saw their chance. General Ji-hoon's team had reached the heart of the ISR ship. They set up their explosives and prepared to strike. It was a risky move, but they knew they had no other choice. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, fire. The explosion was deafening. A bright flash of light erupted from the ISR battleship as the core was destroyed. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, chaos erupted. The ISR ships began to shake and falter. One by one, the massive vessels started to fall from the sky, crashing into the earth below. The ground trembled as the invaders' forces were wiped out in an instant. Hae-kyung, standing on the streets below, looked up in amazement. The sky, once filled with destruction, was now clear. The ISR fleet had been defeated. "We did it," Hae-kyung whispered, barely able to believe it. The humans had won. It was a victory that would be remembered for generations. Against all odds, they had stood up to the ISR Empire and fought them back. And for the first time in history, the humans had proven that they would not be ruled by anyone. Earth was free. The sky was still dark with smoke and debris, but the ISR fleet had been destroyed. The world had won a hard-fought victory, but it was not without cost. Earth's cities were in ruins, and millions of lives had been lost in the battle. Yet, amidst the destruction, there was a sense of hope. The ISR were gone. The humans had shown they could fight and win against even the most powerful invaders. Hae-kyung stood on the edge of the ruined city of Seoul, staring at the sky where the last of the ISR ships had fallen. Her uniform was dirty, and her face was covered in dust and blood, but her eyes burned with a fierce pride. They had done it. Against all odds, they had fought back and defeated the ISR Empire. As she looked around, Hae-kyung saw the faces of the people who had fought alongside her, ordinary citizens, soldiers, and resistance fighters. They had all stood together to protect their planet, and now they were witnessing the result of their efforts. "Is it over?" one of her teammates, Min-ho, asked, his voice filled with exhaustion. "For now," Hae-kyung replied, nodding slowly, "but we have a long road ahead of us." The battle had been won, but the war had left Earth scarred. The cities were in ruins, food and water supplies were limited, and the world was still recovering from the shock of the invasion. The people of Earth would need to rebuild everything that had been lost. Across the globe, nations began to unite in a way they never had before. The common enemy, the ISR, had brought them together, and now they were working together to rebuild the world. The governments of Earth began to set up emergency relief operations, and aid flowed to the areas that had been hit the hardest. But even as they began to rebuild, there was a lingering question. What would happen now? Earth had proven it could defend itself, but the universe was vast. Were the ISR the only threat they would face, or had this invasion been the first of many? In the days following the victory, Dr. Min-seo continued her work. The new weapons they had developed during the invasion were being studied, and the knowledge they had gained from the ISR technology was invaluable. Earth's scientists were now working with experts from all over the world, sharing information and planning for the future. They knew they had to be prepared for anything. General Ji-hoon stood in a command center, speaking with leaders from different countries. "The ISR are gone, but we can't forget that they came here with one goal: to conquer. We must be ready for the next challenge, whatever it may be." Hae-kyung joined him later that day. She had just received word that her team would be part of the new task force that would help rebuild the country and protect against future threats. There was no time to rest. The world needed them now more than ever. "We've won, but the work isn't finished," Hae-kyung said as she stood beside Ji-hoon. "We need to make sure this never happens again." Ji-hoon nodded. "The war is over, but the future has just begun. We will rebuild, and we will be stronger than ever. Earth will be ready for whatever comes next. As the sun began to set over the ruined city, Hakyung looked out across the horizon. The world had changed, but one thing remained certain. The spirit of humanity was unbreakable. No matter how powerful the enemy, no matter how dark the times, humans would fight for their survival. And now, the people of Earth had shown that they could stand tall, even in the face of destruction. They had proven that they were not just survivors, they were conquerors. The future of Earth was in their hands, and they would never let anyone take that away. The days after the battle were quiet, but the world was far from peaceful. Earth had won, but the scars of war were still everywhere. Cities had been destroyed, families were grieving, and life had changed in ways no one could have imagined. However, amid the sadness and destruction, there was also something new: hope. The people of Earth had survived against all odds, and they were now determined to rebuild. In Seoul, the capital of South Korea, Hakyung stood before a crowd of people. She had been chosen to speak at the ceremony marking the end of the war. Her face was clean now, her uniform repaired, but her eyes still held the memories of everything that had happened. The streets were lined with people, some injured, some mourning, but all standing together in unity. They had fought, and they had won. It was time to move forward. Today, we stand not as survivors, but as victors. Hakyung began, her voice calm but strong. The Uizar came to Earth thinking we were weak, that we could be easily defeated. They were wrong. We showed them that no matter what they did, no matter how powerful they were, we would never surrender. And now we begin to rebuild. The crowd cheered, their spirits lifted by her words. For the first time in weeks, there was a sense of pride and determination. People from all walks of life had fought for their planet, and now they would work together to restore it. Around the world, people were working tirelessly to rebuild their homes. Engineers and workers repaired the infrastructure, while doctors and nurses cared for the wounded. Scientists, led by Dr. Min Seo, were studying the alien technology they had captured, using it to improve Earth's own technology. What had been a weapon of war was now being used to bring peace and progress. But even as Earth began to recover, questions remained. The Uizar were gone, but who else might be out there? Were there more threats in the vast reaches of space? Hakyung often thought about these things. She knew that while they had won, the universe was much bigger than they realized. Earth had to be ready for whatever might come next. One day, Hakyung and General Ji-hoon met to discuss the future. They were standing in a new command center, a place where Earth's military and scientists were working together to prepare for any new threats. "We can't afford to relax," Ji-hoon said, looking out over the city. "The Uizar were only the beginning. The universe is full of dangers, and Earth must be ready for them." "I agree," Hakyung replied, her eyes focused. "But I think the biggest strength we have is our unity. We've shown that when we come together, we are stronger than any enemy. We need to keep that spirit alive." Ji-hoon nodded. "We'll need everyone. The fight for Earth isn't over, but we've taken the first step toward making sure it's never taken from us." Around the world, Earth's leaders were forming a new alliance. Countries that had once been divided now worked together, sharing resources and knowledge to ensure the planet's survival. The Uizar invasion had brought them together, and now they were stronger than ever. In the days that followed, Earth's military began preparing for the future. They trained new soldiers, built new defenses, and developed new technologies to protect the planet. The people of Earth had learned valuable lessons in the fight against the Uizar. Never underestimate the strength of humanity, and never stop fighting for what's yours. As Hakyung stood at the edge of the city, looking out over the horizon, she knew that this was just the beginning. Earth was no longer a small, quiet planet. It was a symbol of strength and unity, a place where people fought for their freedom, no matter the cost. And as she watched the sun rise over the ruins of the old world, Hakyung made a promise to herself and to all the people of Earth. They would never let anyone take their home again. The future of Earth was in their hands, and this time they were ready.